You know, I don't want you to talk about, I don't want to put any jinx on the new Bricklin car.
And don't worry about it. Nobody's going to be able to jinx it but me.
Okay. So what can you tell us about it? I'd love to, you know, my listeners are automotive people. They're car people.
Okay. Let me give you the story. It's about 07. I have just been screwed by the Chinese and the people I introduced them to, and I'm embarking or preparing to embark on a marathon suit against everybody for, don't ask me why, because I've never sued anybody in my life. And here I am, I really was pissed. I mean, it was so outrageous.
And this was the Cherry, of course.
The Cherry car. And we had $157 million dealer's money. Thank God we had an escrow and gave it all back. But I mean, everybody was going nuts about the opportunity to bring in a first Chinese car done really smart. And the smart idea was Bertoni and Pininfarina were going to design great cars for us, and they were going to get AVL to do the motors for. I mean, these were all things we asked them to do as a prerequisite to what we would then be willing to buy as many cars as they could build. And then we introduced them to people that wanted to be involved with us as investors, and they stole one. I mean, but it's not important. What is important out of that story was I start looking again at electric. Back in the 1990s, I had gotten together with Dr. Malcolm Curry. He had just retired as chairman of Hughes Aircraft. And that was owned by General Motors. And one of the last things he did before retiring is he put the team together and they built the EV-1 for General Motors. So he was actually involved in the first production electric vehicle. And when they started taking them all back and crushing them, it really pissed him off. And he, of course, he retired as normally. And he got together with me, and I really liked him. And his name was Malcolm. There's not a whole bunch of people I knew that had the name Malcolm. And he had done amazing things. He was Undersecretary of Defense, and he was, he was right out there, really a nice guy and well knowledgeable in the world. He put the tech center together for Hughes Aircraft. In any case, he got together and he said, let's see if we can figure out something that we can do with electric vehicles. This is in the 1990s. Well, we played with batteries, flat batteries from computers, putting them together, and we tried everything. Problem is we couldn't get more than 30 or 40 mile range with lead acid batteries.
Right.
So we finally came to the conclusion it ain't ready. So while we're at it and we spent time together and we liked each other, what could we do with electric vehicle? What kind of electric vehicle would work? And we decided bicycles. Why don't we start the electric bike industry? And we did. We went to Design Works, which was at the time half owned by BMW. Now it's all owned by BMW. And we had them design, for that time, a very cool looking bike for electric. And we put everything you could imagine in it. I mean, we met federal regulations for bikes. And we put the turn signals, the ones that had the lights in the turn signals before they put them on cars. It was a cool bike that sold for $12.95. And I went out and I got dealers to sell the bike. And they liked it because they got this EV halo in the 1990s. That was a big deal. Oh, right. Go down to so-and-so Cadillac and see the EV bike. Man, the people poured in. And when you got on the bike and you pushed that button, it was terrific. I mean, it was fun. There was two flaws in everything I just said. The dealers loved it and wanted to sell them for $12.95. What the hell, it wasn't bad. But the salespeople didn't want to sell it because they only got $50. And that meant an up. So they'd have to go to the back of the line to sell a bike. Nobody wanted to sell a bike. So if you wanted a bike, you came into the dealership, they pointed to it. You got on one, drove it around, you came back and said, I want it. And they'd send them to the F&I department to go sell it. They did not want to sell it. Well, that's okay, because when you drove it around yourself, you really liked it. The big flaw. It was a heavy bike because it had lead acid batteries. So who buys an electric bike in the 1990s? A non-bike rider. And what do you do when you ride a bike? You ride it on the street with cars. And what happens when you're riding a bike and you don't know what the hell you're doing? You get scared to death, as you should be, because you're out there, you don't know what you're doing. And big cars, some people don't like people on bikes. They will go out of their way to do not nice things to you on a bike. So people with these bikes learned to use it in their driveway to show up to their neighbors how great it was, but they didn't do a lot of riding. There weren't a lot of bike paths in the 1990s. So Dr. Curry and our people decided the only thing he could do is make them cheaper, put in hub motors so it didn't have them on the top, and sell them to people like Walmart. And I thought that was a great idea, but it wasn't where my head was at. And I went off to go meet with Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and I invested with them in a micro fuel cell. And I'm telling you this story to let you know, no matter how terrific something may sound, there's always something you forgot. And sometimes what you forgot is the most important thing you should know. Well, I'm working now with Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Now, these are the people, the guy I was working with he was in charge of the department that went out and got fuel cells and all the new technology to put on rocket ships that left Earth without a man in it. Every rocket ship that left Earth that did not have an astronaut in it was Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So when they had a rover around Mars that was supposed to go for 15 days and went for 15 years, he was in charge of the technology to keep that thing running. All right. So he got involved in getting me involved in this micro fuel cell. And what it was a little teensy-weensy fuel cell that you could put a drop of methanol in. And the methanol did all the reactions and turned out electricity. And it would be incredibly perfect for a cell phone. You could put it on a cell phone, put a drop in there, and go for a month. Oh, my God. How cool is that? And it worked. I mean, they had a whole bunch of development work, and I started spending $50,000 a month with them to get everything done, and all the patent, everything is ready to go. And I'm, of course, reading up everything I can about methanol, and I get to an article about how methanol is not allowed on public transportation. So if I have this fuel cell, it takes only a couple drops. They will confiscate it if you go on an airplane or a bus or a train. Oh, my God.
So you can't ship it or anything.
I forget shipping it. How about you got a cell phone in your pocket? They take your cell phone.
Okay.
I don't think that's a winner. I went back and said, gentlemen, we forgot to point out to me that we can't use it in any practical transportation, and I'm not sure where else. And that was the end of that. Fuel cell worked. Everything was terrific, except it didn't.
Well, there's always the business plan, and then what really happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that kept leading me down the road to where I am actually today. And if I had a choice in life of everything I've ever done and being where I am today, I am really happy about being where I am today.
Wow.
Because in about 2007, 2008, I start saying to myself, all right, it wasn't ready before, but it sounds like to me the EV world is starting to get exciting and it's ready to start doing something. Is there anything that I can put in that would be valuable that is not going to be done by all the car companies in the world? They're going to spend billions and billions. They're going to build SUVs and pickup trucks and sedans, and they're all going to do it. And they're all going to be different prices. And they don't need me to build another SUV, pickup truck, or sedan. No matter what it is I think I can do, they don't need me. So what is it I can do? Now, when I get into something, I look at everything, and every time I read anything about EVs, the thing that is standard amongst all the articles, the goal is save weight. Save weight, save weight. Make the body lighter, make the frame lighter, make the motor lighter, make the batteries lighter, everything, make them lighter, because the lighter you are, the less kilowatts you use, the cheaper the vehicle. So I said...
And the range.
Why not? Oh, everything. It affects everything, your mentality, because the better the range, the more secure you feel. The light, on and on and on and on. So I said, great. How much weight do we save if we take off one wheel? 1,500 pounds. No kidding. I can save half the kilowatts I don't have to put in a car. Why don't I build a three-wheeler that's like a real car? Why is it like a Lamborghini? The low end, you have the batteries in. Oh my God, you'll have more fun driving that car than anything you ever had in your entire life. And after we did lots of focus groups, came up with safety was the biggest concern. And in the three-wheeler, you don't have to meet a lot of safety rules. It's sort of classified as a motorcycle in some states, an autocycle in other states, but the safety rules are not as stringent. But I got
Malcolm, I'm sorry. When you say taking off a wheel saves you 15 pounds, is that because there's a motor at every wheel?
No, that's because the motor and the axle and the weight of the body and everything else, by the time you're done, it's 1,500 pounds.
Oh, so it's not the wheel. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The body, everything immediately changes 1,500
What
pounds
happens to all of the architecture when you shed a wheel? Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you for asking. I didn't realize I've been sloppy with that. Any case, I have 6 kids and I got 9 grandkids, and they're all going to be driving that car. That's why when I built the Bricklin, it was a safety vehicle. That's why whenever I'm going to ever build anything, if it's not safe, I can't build it, because I could not deal with having one of my kids hurt in the car that I could have done something about. So no matter what the law says, I got to build the safest car that can be built. That in mind, I went to Dan Panos. Dan Panos built his own car in the 90s, the Esperada. He also designs and builds race cars. And they've won every kind of race you can imagine, from the Indy to Sebring and everything in between. They know what they're doing when it comes. And those vehicles, those race cars, can hit a wall at 200 miles an hour, and the guy walks.
That's right.
So I said to him, you're going to build my prototypes, and you're going to do the engineering, and I want 100 miles an hour, and you walk. And we'll put in harness belts with airbags in the harness belts. I mean, we'll do whatever it takes to make this a fabulous car. And he's the guy who knows how to do it. And he's also a great human being. So we started down the line. I'm going to give you almost to what it is I said I can't tell you. I'm going to give you up to what I can't tell you.
But be careful.
So,
I mean, don't put yourself even near any trepidous,
Yeah. Well, I like to walk the line.
Well, you're known for that. But I'll feel guilty if something happened because 6 people saw
Nothing bad will happen. Nothing
Okay.
bad will happen. Anyhow, so we decided, what do we do next? We have a great idea. I brought in designers that gave me what we wanted, because our mission statement was going to be redefining the price of fabulous. And in order to do that, the vehicle, the outside had to look fabulous, the interior had to be fabulous, the drive had to be fabulous. That was going to be the mission statement, fabulous. And that was anything we had to do. Safety had to be fabulous, dealer network had to be fabulous, price had to be fabulous. So we went down that road, and now comes to where are we going to get the components to move the thing. Do we want to buy batteries from one person? What is it? How do we want to do it? Well, if we do it that way, the time it takes to do it and the amount of engineers you need to do to engineer it, pretty high. The other way to do it is buy a whole drivetrain from somebody manufacturing vehicles right now, or going to be manufacturing vehicles. So I just take it out and stick it in. Takes care of my engineering, takes care of everything. I'll know beforehand if it's any good, and it'll do the thing because it's going to be being used already. So Dan said, who was the one who pushed it, by the way, said, okay, fine. He's going to China, and he's going to find us a manufacturer that makes sense. A manufacturer that not only could we buy the components in a package and just stick it in, but who also builds pickup trucks and SUVs, because they can go to the dealer network that we're setting up also to sell other cars with the same interior and with the same components. Great. He goes to I don't mean Japan. He goes to China a number of times, checks with a number of manufacturers, finds the one he really wants, rips their cars apart, finds out of everything, makes a deal with them. They send over all the computer things. We start engineering our car. The coronavirus hits. And although I had a bad taste in my mouth about my dealings with the Chinese and my feeling of trust with them, which was it's not resolved, and I was still ready to bend. But when this virus happened and I started to see what they did, which the least amount was, they let people get on a plane and fly to the United States and the rest around the world when they stopped it in their own country. I said, enough. Is that I can't do business with them. I don't want to do business with them. What am I going to do? Well, as I told you, one of my guys who happens to be on my board and is a trusted friend who is the head of technology at JPL called me up and said, right around the same time, don't buy from China. I can get you all the components here in the United States. The prices have come down. Everybody's in the game. They'd love to be involved with you. I said, great. And then I was back to, but if I buy the components, I got to engineer all the components together again and put it all there. That's a year's worth of work. I don't have the patience anymore for another year. What am I going to do? And the answer, of course, is to find an American manufacturer that's doing some good stuff out there with the batteries and the controllers and the motors and so forth, which is just about everybody right now. And that's where I have to leave it. So we will make a deal with somebody and they will sell us the components. They may even manufacture our car for us. So that change happened when after I spent time and money and energy, and I decided it was not smart to go forward, had to change my whole thinking to what is about to happen, which is only about 10,000 times better. At the end of the story, I'm very excited. When we announce what's about to happen, it's everybody's going to get it. One of the things we did is we did a lot of focus groups. What we did, we had pictures of the front and the side and the interior of what the car is going to look like.
Okay.
And we showed thousands of people in all walks of life, people who didn't ever want to buy a car, people who could give a damn about electric, people who could afford 50 of the cars, people who couldn't afford one of the cars. And we said the following: this is a 3-wheel all-electric vehicle, goes 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. It's going to get 100 miles an hour. You can hit into a wall and you'll walk. And it'll go 250 miles between charges. How much do you think it should sell for? And show them pictures. And the average was $116,000. And by the way, if I only wanted to build 1,000 of these cars, it would sell for $150,000 and you'd be happy with it. The other thing, by the way, we're going to do is every 50,000 miles, change the exterior, not the doors, not the interior, but the panels will fit on the panels that are, on the frame that we are building right now, but it'll be a different design. And the reason for that, it will keep the used car price high. Because if you want one, it'll already be sold out. You got to go buy it from the person, not from us, because it's already sold. Anyhow, yeah, so it'll be almost, depending on how much volume we want to get into, I'll be probably producing one different looking car a month. So I'll have a grand opening every month at my 500 dealers that we're setting up.
Only Malcolm, I got to tell you, only Malcolm Bricklin would say, "Hey, a new introduction every month, or every 50,000 miles, we're going to update your
50,000 cars.
Every 50,000 cars. Okay, I'm glad we clarified that. Every 50,000 cars, we're going to change it around." Who would think of this? I mean, I think some people would think of this as wasteful, frivolous, but you think of over the top. You just can't help it, can you?
No, I can't. But I don't start from that point. I got pushed into, there was no place else for me to go. There was nothing else for me to do. And it was either don't be in the auto industry any longer, which why would I do that? I mean, I got almost 60 years in the damn thing. Why would I throw that wisdom away at that? That's why it kills me when I hear anybody say they're retired. Why would you work all your life and then become really wise and then say, okay, now I'm finished?
Right, now that you know something. Now that you have some experiences.
I really do know. I never knew any of the other things I was doing, but now I do.
How about in the focus groups? Did you ask? Are we naming the new car? Is it going to be a Bricklin?
Bricklin 3 EV. Bricklin 3 EV.
Okay, so it'll be a Bricklin. So in your focus groups, did you check? Is there brand equity in the name Bricklin?
The people who know it think so, and the people who don't know it don't give a damn. That's not where I'll tell you what the hook is. After these people guessed what the price would be, from my $500,000 to as low as about $75,000. When they guessed, I didn't care what the price they said. I said to them, what would you say if I told you the price was $25,980? And their eyes glazed over and they said, I want one. Not in, it's cool, send me a picture. It was, what do I do to get one right now that I can give you cash to hold it for me? I mean, and those who had money said, give me 5. But the point is, it was something they wanted because it was cool. And
you think you can come in that? Do you really think you can come through in the $26,000 range?
Yeah, I know I can. We're not just arbitrarily putting the price. I save half my kilowatts right there is just about enough to do the job.
Unbelievable. Well, on this show, I had the General Motors executive that built the General Motors plant in Russia. And he told a fellow named Warren Brown, a good friend. And he told me a story about the Russian oligarch whose name I can't remember, but richest guy in Russia at the time. And the guy wanted to build a car with General Motors, wanted to put his money in and wanted it to come in at a certain number for the people's car. And when Warren was explaining to me about, well, first there's the building it, and then there's the delivering it, and then the dealer margin, and then et cetera. Sometimes there's a minimum, forget about materials cost.
Absolutely. I got distributors that have to make money. I have dealers that have to make money. I have to make money. Yeah, it's all there. Building a car is not the big deal. It was the engine and the transmission, which was the big deal. And now it's the batteries. But the batteries are coming down really dramatically, number one, and knocking off The Bolt, I think, has 60 kilowatts. We're talking 40 kilowatts. That's 1/3 less with better performance and more miles because I got half the weight.
Oh my God. When are we going to know something?
Real soon.
Okay. I'll be following that. I'll be, every so often a email or a text or something. Okay.
Okay. You got it.
Like, because I'm one of the ones where Bricklin has brand equity.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.